So this is from the deeper look with Michael Sellers, right? Stephen Miller's Plenary freeze, a CNN insider's account of what happened, a deeper look exclusive. Michael Sellers went and talked to somebody who works at CNN. For the past 2 days, online speculation has swirled around a strange moment in Stephen Miller's CNN interview, the one where, in the middle of discussing presidential power under Title X, he began to say that the president's authority is plenary, and then stopped cold. He didn't lose video. He didn't appear to fumble with his earpiece. He simply froze mid-sentence. CNN anchor Boris Sanchez eventually cited technical difficulties and cut to break. When the program returned, Miller repeated his answer, this time without the word plenary. And in CNN's posted version of the interview, the freeze was entirely gone. Now, a CNN insider who says they were in the control room during the interview has provided an explanation. Michael Sellers says, so yesterday I received the following, which I'm posting verbatim, except for some identifying information, which I checked out to my satisfaction and verified the writer's employment with CNN in a capacity that would support his access to the information provided. The guy starts and he says, well, Michael, I feel it important to share some of the info with you regarding Stephen Miller's CNN interview. I work at CNN in the control room. He said there was a technical issue. It was human error, that right in the middle of his answer, his earpiece went to a live interview. So that's what he was hearing, a live interview suddenly in his earpiece. And he didn't understand he couldn't hear Boris anymore. And so he could hear him talking, but he couldn't hear him in his ear. That's their official explanation. So this is what Michael Sellers says after that explanation. He says, well, the description matches exactly what one would expect from a live broadcast IFB mix-up, the kind of thing that happens in every major newsroom sooner or later. If the earpiece suddenly switches to another control room, the guest would hear unrelated chatter or an anchor talking about an unrelated matter. It is plausible that this would cause the interviewee to stop mid-sentence, confused, possibly feeling the interview had been cut or interrupted. So the explanation is plausible and is coming from someone who truly does have direct access to what happened. So I'm inclined to accept it and would rate it as highly likely to be true. But he said why plenary still matters. Even if the freeze was a technical glitch, Miller's use of plenary remains significant. And the fact that he didn't use it again when they resumed may suggest that he thought better of it for the reasons that we previously speculated about. In constitutional law, plenary authority means absolute power, free from external checks. The American presidency was designed as anything but plenary, bounded by statute, judicial review, and federalism. So when Miller's silence now appears accidental, his language was not. Plenary reflects a worldview, one in which the presidency, at least under Trump, is imagined as unrestrained and final. That, more than the freeze itself, may be the real story. I'm expecting some comments that say, come on, you're being played, this is a MAGA disinformation op, and you're the recipient. I know it's disappointing when you feel like a detested adversary made a blunder and now someone tried to say otherwise. I get it. Confirmation bias is a real thing. But in the end, I'm just an observer, and I look at the info, and I try to call balls and strikes fairly. On balance, I believe the account is likely true. He said, anyways, thanks for sticking with me. In the comments, somebody says, my suspicion is that plenary is language Miller uses when he's trying to convince Trump and his circle to do what Rage Boy acting VP Miller wants. Was it a slip-up? Was he trying to put on his big boy words to talk Trump through Fox, or was he just thinking about it? Either way, he is deadly clear. History will judge if Mr. Miller or Mr. Musk played a bigger role in unraveling Trump's abortive second term. I pegged him at 50-50 right now. Pretty good. That was a pretty good comment. Somebody else said, he said plenary, period. Somebody else said, Stanley said, some may call this a Freudian slip. The thing about this kind of slip is that it is in the speaker's mind, but in a nanosecond, the filter drops and the true belief breaks through. Somebody says, sounds correct on a more reasonable than not basis. Thanks for posting, even though it doesn't match the desired narrative. Somebody else said, one thing the Trump White House isn't is shy. If they think claiming plenary power will help them gain the plenary power that they obviously crave, it will become their favorite word, right after leftist lunatics who hate our country and well-organized and well-funded Antifa conspiracy. By the way, thank you for your attention to this matter. So anyway, thought you might like to hear that. It's hard to believe anything people say, especially mainstream media, which Michael Sellers is. I read some other of his work. I think he does try to be fair. I don't really trust CNN though. That's my thing. And he did say fucking plenary, and that's all that counts. And that's why we need to be paying attention. Thank you for watching my videos.